I'm not fond of it, and Monopoly keeps harassing me, but I just need added it out of my face. Hey, it's one of the last time we're going to do Tuesday, May 28th, and this is third period. Tomorrow is field day, so as far as the schedule goes, you will go to first period to start the day. You'll be there for field day, which is like 2 hours. And they have no one told you yet. We have Kona Ice that's for free that they're bringing in for you.
Oh, I love free.
And you have like a part where you get to walk around and you get to talk to people. They're also going to be doing like you get to learn like a whole organized dance we do together. And there's like competitions. I'm not. They brought in like a professional person. The same thing. Joey, you're still talking. And then they also have different events you can do. There's gonna be like tug of war and like shoe throwing and stuff like that. No. Unless you consider kicking your shoe the same thing as soccer. Let's see. Today's shirt was one of our very first ones we did. It was before it was all the heroes. The heroes shirts literally just started from me putting my own face on the shirt. And then kids wanted the shirt that I put my face on, and then I came out with an official hero shirt, and this was it. And then all the other teachers wanted to start being on the shirt, so it slowly started switching over. And today is different. See, we're good to go. We got your guys' picture. Some of my other classes, we still struggle. Today is not a story as much as today is me talking. But today is, I think, the more important of the ones. Last week is a sort of build up to this one. Those of you who have already had Mrs. Butts, or I'm sure all of you will have her later, she also does a talk. I mean, that sort of came from mine last year when she kept hearing about mine, and she was like, "You think I should?" And I was like, "Yeah, talking to kids is fun." So then she sort of brought hers in, and so far I think it's been good. Today is more advice than anything else. It's more, I've realized that today is my last time to have an impact on some of you. Because some of you won't be here tomorrow because I have kids who skipped the last day of school. Or if you are here tomorrow, it is sort of chaotic and it's not really a time for me to pass along any advice. And this is my last opportunity to have an impact on you. And that's why I teach. I don't teach because for the money. I don't teach because wanting to get English in the world. It's honestly because I like interacting with kids and I want to make the world a better place. And part of that is wanting to make you guys better people. Today's talk is what I gave to that class the first time years ago. It was me it was a combination of last week's stories and today's all sort of combined into one day, and I sort of spread it out over them. My goal last week was just to earn your trust, which again, I know in this class is ironic. But the idea of me opening up who I am and the horrible things I went through as a kid was so that today would have weight. The idea of me giving advice and telling a story and you guys paying attention to it throws me off because it's not something I would have done in junior high. And it's not something I think a lot of you guys would do for most teachers. So I take it as a compliment that most of you listen to me. You're fine. I'm looking at my notes as I'm trying to figure out where to go with this one. So I apologized at the beginning of this class to May and Josie because they gave me their yearbooks and I planned on getting them done during my prep period today, but I couldn't because I had a group of 8th graders from my advanced class last year who came in and talked to me. They managed to get out of their science class and they're like, "We sit in here," and we just sat and talked like a half hour. It was kind of nice. But one of the conversations that I had with them was how things change from 7th grade to 8th grade. And that is why I do this talk today. I used to think, especially in my advanced classes, that 7th graders, especially advanced 7th graders, lead happy lives with no drama, no home issues, no problems in your life, and that everything goes well for you. And then I had kids come back and talk to me, and I realized that's not true. There's a lot of kids in 7th grade who have really screwed up home lives. And there's kids in my advanced class, I've learned this year, who have some rough home lives going on at home. And I don't think adults or parents talk to you guys like you're adults. And after hearing you guys joking with each other about not turning 13 until the beginning of next school year, you horrible, horrible, angry children, I can understand why, but here's the issue. Regardless of when your birthday is, regardless of your parents talking to you, that does not stop the fact that the world is going to start treating you like adults soon. By 8th grade, you are going to know kids who drink, vape, smoke pot, do anything along those lines, are Zeus level of friendly with other people, and things along those lines. And I've realized that when I say some of this to 7th graders, I get Pikachu eyes and a little surprise face from kids like, what? And I've learned 7th grade for a lot of kids is your last year of innocence, where you are not necessarily aware of everything that's been happening around you. You've sort of just been living your life. 8th grade, things are going to start happening. You are going to start getting invited to either a party or over to a kid's house, or you're going to be at a sleepover, or you're going to be hanging out at a park where someone's going to have alcohol, or they're going to have a vape, or you're going to have the opportunity to experiment with marijuana, drugs. It's happening within the next year. And so it's because of me talking to my 8th graders during my prep period, and I asked them the same thing. I was like, you guys were in my advanced class last year. You heard my talk. I'm like, is that? And all of them were like, uh-huh. And they're like, we could give you names right now. And so that's what I've realized, is that if this is my last time to have an impact on you, I want to make it meaningful. And I told you guys stories about me making poor choices and getting arrested, because you're going to make poor choices. It happens. You can't go through life without making poor choices. Regardless of how good of a person you think you are, you're going to make mistakes. Because if you don't make mistakes, that's a mistake. Because you have to make mistakes to become a better person. It's the only way to improve who you are. It's not about not making mistakes. It's about how do you learn when you make mistakes. When you guys screw up and when you make those mistakes, do those mistakes break you, or do you learn from them? This summer, going into next year, you guys are going to be presented with opportunities that you have not necessarily been prepared for in the past. It's easy to say now that you would not smoke, drink, go down that path, but every good kid says that when they're in 7th grade or 6th grade or 5th grade. But when you're at a party and you're at a place and it is your friend that is doing it, it's a lot harder to make that choice. It's a lot tougher to be that strong person. And so that's what I want you guys to be prepared for. Part of my having interacted with my students and talked to them throughout 7th grade to 8th grade to high school is that I see paths in front of you guys. Every single one of you, I see a dark path and a light path, a path of good choices and a path of bad choices. And I didn't used to see those paths through my first many years of teaching. And it wasn't until I had spent years with kids, whether it was the kid who was always in trouble doing Simpson sheets, or whether it was the kid with the most B points who was the best kid in class. And I saw both of those types of kids come back to my room and either turn their life around or destroy their life. And I look at you guys and I don't know which path you guys are on. I don't know if you're on that good path or that bad path. And honestly, what scares me about your guys' class this year, not 3rd period, but 7th grade class, is that I think a lot of you guys, your paths are equal in width. For some kids, their good path is really wide. You have parents who are home, you feel supported, you don't have abuse you have to deal with, you've never been confronted with these bad choices, and your chances of making poor choices are very slim. They're there, but you're going to have to seek them out, and your good path is very wide, and it's going to be hard for you to fall off of it. And for you, I'm happy. And for you, unfortunately, today's talk might not have as much weight. But there's a lot of you in here who have 2 equal paths between some of those poor choices, and you know this because you know your friends, And you know some of the decisions your friends have made. I know that because kids in 7th grade have already started to come to talk to me. And I've already heard about things that have been happening in the last week or two as these 7th graders start getting invited to 8th grade and high school things. And I'm well aware kids on my team have started to make these choices. You are going to be presented with tough choices coming up. And there's a handful of you whose dark path is much wider than your bright path. And for you, there is home life and struggle. I know I have kids this year who have abuse at home, who deal with alcoholic parents, who deal with divorce in the family, or deal with parents who reject them, or parents who don't spend time with them. I have kids who go an entire day without having an adult say, I love you, or care about you. And that puts you on a dark path. That puts you on a path where your chance to make mistakes in this world are much stronger than your chances of doing well. And it is for those kids I worry. It is for those kids that I want to have some kind of impact on. It was around junior high for me when I became aware of other kids' lives. I think through 5th, 6th grade, maybe most of 7th grade, I was able to live my life thinking every other kid's home life was like my home life. Because I think that's human nature, that you assume other people have gone through what you have. I assumed every kid had divorced parents and a dad that abandoned them when they were 6 and never saw them again. Every kid had alcoholic grandparents that you couldn't be around on the weekends because they would get themselves in trouble or kicked out of restaurants. That every kid had an uncle who was in and out of jail and prison for drugs and alcohol. And because that's what I grew up with, and that's what I went through. And it wasn't until junior high that I started, you'll have to wait till the end, Matei, sorry, that I started, unless you need to leave to go to the bathroom, then you can just take off and go and I'll just charge you. For any of you, if you need to go up and go bathroom, just go. I'm not going to stop to call on you. I apologize. But it wasn't until 7th grade that I became aware that my friends' lives were not like mine. And I think that's where some of you guys are getting to. Some of you have a good life. You have parents at home who tell you that they love you. You have dinner with your parents. You interact with brothers and sisters. You feel supported. You feel you can be who you want to be without worry of a parent bad-mouthing you or feeling hatred toward you, whoever it is you want to be. But you have to realize, I have kids in my classes, I have kids in this class who don't have that. I have kids who come and talk to me because they don't look forward to summer. And you have to realize how tough that is for a kid who doesn't want summertime, because summertime means being at home, and being home is not a happy place. I have a number of students who home is not a happy place for them because of parents who are not nice to them. I have parents who are abusive, not abusive to the point where they get pulled out of the home, but some parents aren't good people and they treat their kids horribly. And if that is you, that makes for a tough life. And it is to those kids I sometimes want to speak to. And it's also because I didn't realize those kids existed when I was your age. And I want you guys to know that they exist. I was bullied a lot when I was a kid, especially in junior high. I told you guys my wrestling team, and I pointed out, there was a kid named Chad who was my bully. That started in junior high. And I remember 8th grade year, we were in PE, and I had bad acne. It started in 8th grade. It was my first year that my acne really came in, and it was not a pleasant thing. And I did everything I could to get rid of it, but sometimes you just can't. And acne just sits on you, and it sucks. And it sat on me, and it sucked. And Chad was nice enough in front of all the popular pretty girls to call me Pizza Face while we were all together. And he got all the girls to laugh at me. And it hurt, and it sucked. And I remember going home that day, and sitting in my room and being upset, and my mom coming in. And my mom's a great lady, and I love her very much. And she helped me come to a realization that day with a conversation. Because she walked in and she sat on my bed. And she was like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "Really crappy day." She's like, "What's going on?" And I go, "A kid in my class was making fun of me." She was like, "That Chad kid?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I told her about it before." And she was like, "Oh yeah." And so I told her what happened and him calling me pizza face, which isn't really enough that can get a kid in trouble. It's just a jerk move that people do when they're jerks. And I told her about it and the fact that all these girls laughed at me. And I was like, "I don't want to go back to school tomorrow. I don't want to go to PE tomorrow because they're going to laugh at me again." And she goes, "Huh, is Chad a friend of yours?" And I went, "No, I hate him. He can die in a hole." And she goes, "Oh." She goes, "Were those other girls that laughed at you, are they friends of yours?" And I said, "No, I don't even really know them. I know they're popular and all that, but I'm like, I don't really know them." And she goes, "So then why do you care?" And I went, "What?" She goes, "Chad makes fun of you. You don't like him. Why do you care what he has to say? These girls laughed at you. You don't even like them. Why do you care?" It was the first time an adult had ever told me, you don't have to care what other people say about you. And I don't think I'd fully grasped that before. And it was a weird epiphany for me that, gesundheit, as a human, you get to choose who impacts your mood. You get to choose what kind of person you want to be. And my mom's response was, if they're not your friends, why do you care what they say? She's like, "Do you not know you have acne?" I go, "Yeah, I look in the mirror every day. I know I have acne." And she goes, "Do you not know that people can make fun of you?" I'm like, "I know." She goes, "Then why do you care if they do? Can't you just not care?" And I'm like, "Mom, you don't understand. He's popular and they're popular." And honestly, at the time, I didn't understand. I was probably too young for it to grasp. And for some of you, it's probably the same way. But that started me down the path to who I am today, was understanding that I did not have to be what other people made me. You've seen me this year with painted fingernails, painted toenails, colored hair, long hair, wearing my hair in pigtails in different ways, any number of things that people make fun of and harass me for. And no offense to any of you, but it doesn't bother me. I'm happy with who I am. I like who I am. And my people that I care about like who I am. Are other people going to make fun of me? Absolutely. But what I've realized is people are going to make fun of me regardless of what I do. Regardless of what path I choose, someone is going to attack me. Someone is going to make fun of me. So if no matter what I do, someone's going to make fun of me, why not be the person I want to be? You guys have been in my room this whole year, and you've seen me in my personality. And you have to, well, maybe you don't have to, but I want you to realize it's a choice. Like, who I am is by choice. Naturally, I am an introvert. I am shy. I am quiet. I do not want to interact with people. When I go to a party, I am the quiet person that sits in the back of the room because talking to people scares me. But that's not who I am as a teacher, because that would not make for a very good teacher. So I embrace the quieter side of myself, the part of me that's outgoing, and I bring that out. That's what I want for you guys. So this year, as I was going through and talking to Mrs. Melling and Mrs. Butz, we pick Students of the Year and we pick Heroes of the Year, who are these kids that we think are outstanding and above all others. And I found it frustrating talking to them and finding out that you guys have different personalities in other classes than you do in mine. And that sometimes you guys, I think, hold back who you are, and you stifle who you truly are, and I don't want that for you. One of the biggest pieces of advice I could give to any one of you guys going from here into 8th grade is you are at the time where you are figuring out your personality. This is when you get to figure out who you are. Are you outgoing? Are you quiet? Are you odd? Are you normal? Are you a class clown? Are you a brain? Figure out who you want to be and embrace it. Do not let other people ever stop you from being who you want to be. If other kids make fun of you in class, who cares? If you see teachers who try to shut down the version of you that you want to be, embrace who you want to be. Do not let others control you. Do not let parents, do not let peers, do not let anyone that is not you control who you want to be. You are on your path in this lifetime. And it's one of those things that bothers me is watching kids hide their true self, hide who their personality is for fear of reactions from other kids. And that's one of the biggest things I want to pass along to you guys, is to not let that happen, is for you guys to figure out who you are and never hold that back. But bullies are going to try and stop you. Bullies are going to lash out. Bullies are going to be mean to you. And here's some bad news. They're not going away. Bullies are always going to exist. They're going to exist this year. They're going to exist next year. They're going to be in high school. They're going to be in college. They're going to be in the real world. Bullies have existed for as long as there are humans. We can't get rid of bullies. The reason we can't get rid of bullies is we can't get rid of unhappiness. In 25 years of talking to kids and having kids come back and talk to me, I have never once had a kid who was a bully who was happy. Happy people do not attack other people. It simply does not happen. Bullies and anger comes from unhappiness. One of the toughest things I had to learn as a teacher that took me way too long to figure out is that I keep forgetting I have little things back there to help me out. Those are me as a kid. Go to this one. Is that there are going to be awful people in your life. There are going to be mean people in your life. The worst people in your life are the ones who need the most love. Those of you who have a good home life, those of you who have parents who love you, who have parents that are good to you, every kid has some kind of trauma and stress, but you know what your home life is. If your home life is decent, that's great. But what you need to understand is there are kids in my 7th grade classes who do not have good home lives, who go home and they get yelled at, who go home and they can't interact with parents because they're drunk, who can't be around their house on the weekends because of abuse, those kids who don't look forward to summer. Those kids are unhappy. When you're 13 or 12 and you are dealing with that kind of unhappiness, it's more than a kid knows how to deal with. So they lash out at other people. Do you know who's going to make them the most angry? Kids who have a good life. When you see that person living the life that you want to have, when you see that kid who is happy, who have parents who are there for them, who has parents who are keeping them responsible for what they do, who has everything that that unhappy kid wants, yeah, it pisses them off. It makes them angry. And they lash out in anger, and they're going to be mean to you. Not because they hate you, but deep down, it's a form of jealousy because you have a thing that they don't have. It's easy to be mean back to them when that kid lashes out at you, when that kid makes fun of you, when that kid makes you feel like crap, and you want to lash back out at them and make them feel like crap. It's because some kids, that's all everyone does. They do not have a single person who is nice to them all day. I have students who go through the entire day with parents who are mean to them, teachers who are mean to them, and other kids who are mean to them, and they never have a smiling face the entire day. That was tough on me as a teacher to realize that. And it was not a thing I understood. And so I sort of changed how I run my class. And it's why I tried to make my class a place of happiness. It's a place of safety. It's a place where those kids, I want them to feel good. It's where even when those kids attack other people, I attack what they do, but I want every kid to have a chance to feel accepted or happy at some point in their life. And if that's in my room, all the better. But here's what I want of you. At some point, be that bigger person. When you see that person who is being mean to others, realize why they're doing it. Realize it's not because they're an awful person. Realize it's because they have an awful life. Be the person that is nice to someone when they don't deserve it. It's easy to be nice to nice people. It's tough to be nice to people who are not nice to you. When I was a kid, I also thought that what I didn't really impact the world. That one person doesn't really make a change in everything out there, that you just sort of go through life being you. As an adult and a teacher, I realize that's kind of true, but not all the way, because I'm one person. And apparently, I have made a difference in a lot of kids' lives. I have a number of students who have told me that I have made a difference in their lives. So, if me being one person can impact other lives, why can't you? Why can't you be that one person that impacts someone else, who chooses to smile at someone as opposed to being mean to them, who chooses to be friendly as opposed to choosing to be angry? You can be that person that makes a difference in one person's life. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It can be as simple as just smiling at someone, a kid who has not had someone smile at them all day, or just being friendly to someone who has not had someone be friendly to them all day, stepping out of your comfort zone to be that extra little bit of nice. Could I choose to be angry and mean and yell at kids like teachers you guys see? Absolutely. Do I have those emotions in me? Absolutely. Do I have sadness and anger and frustration? Yeah. Do I show them to you? No. But that's by choice. I have them. I just don't unleash them onto you guys. And it's not a thing I think you guys can figure out right away. It takes time. But I want to at least start planting seeds for you guys. If you guys enjoyed my class this year, if you've enjoyed my teaching style or enjoyed my personality, the biggest compliment you can give me in 8th grade is being nice to people. I apologize. I don't care about your grades. Grades are great, but they don't define who a person is. Who you are is more important to me than what your grades would be. You embracing your personality and you being a kind person to others, I think that's what changes the world. You guys are smart enough now that you see the fact that there's a lot of screwed up adults in the world. There's a lot of angry people out there who spend a lot of their time yelling at each other. The world doesn't change through adults. The world changes through you guys. The world changes with you guys not putting up with older people and their old ways, and you guys changing it to fit how it should be. You guys are the future of what our life, our culture, our world should be. And it's why I enjoy teaching, to try and have that impact on you. A thing I learned early in my teaching was getting in trouble is a good thing. I had, and you guys may have this also, either friends or I've had students who don't seem to get in trouble for what they do. Whether it is failing grades, getting detentions, staying up late, choosing to play video games over doing homework, and you see the fact that they don't get in trouble at their home, or the fact that they're running around doing things that you know would get you trouble at your house. And your first thought would be, oh, that kid must live the perfect life. Do you remember Outsiders? Do you remember Bob? And at the very end of that story, one of the things that Randy says is that Bob's parents loved him, but they never told him no, and that they never disciplined him. I see that with students. When an adult disciplines you, when adults hold you responsible for your choices, whether it be me with Struggle Town or Simpson Sheets or putting you in the hallway, or whether it's me harassing you and you make poor choices, that's not hatred. That's not anger. That's love. Because you have to care about someone to discipline them. When you have parents of someone who is not disciplining them, that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. Because that means you don't have adults in your life who care enough about you to guide you in that direction. I have students in my classes who have that situation. It doesn't mean that your life is over. It means that you have a tougher life. You now have to discipline yourself. You now have to do a thing that your parents should do. Those of you who do have that situation where you do get disciplined for your poor choices, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be mad when it happens. That's how life is supposed to be. As a kid, you're supposed to screw up. You're supposed to do dumb things. Your parents are supposed to love you, and they're supposed to punish you so that you know not to grow up that becomes an adult that does that. I'm not telling you to stop making mistakes. I don't ever want you to stop making mistakes. I prefer you not get arrested. I prefer you not shoplift. But what I want you to do is learn from what your mistakes are in your journey of figuring out who you want to be. Over the course of this year, I've really enjoyed this class. Like this class, third period, I have enjoyed it. I like our conversations. I've enjoyed interacting with you. I don't know if it's a thing you guys realize, but every class has its own personality. As a teacher, it's one of the things it took me a few years to figure out, that your class personality is completely different than my sixth period's personality or my first period's personality. Some classes develop fun personalities and some develop annoying personalities. Your guys's was a fun personality. And I've realized that I play a different role for different kids this year. For some of you, this has just been a class where you got to be in advanced English and you got to be smart and you got to interact with other kids. For some of you, this was a class where you got to laugh and you got to be entertained by me as a teacher and you got to have a good time. For others of you, you needed someone to care about you and you needed someone to discipline you. Others of you just needed an adult that you could look up to, maybe respect, that you could feel a connection to. But I have had kids this year who needed me for more than that, who have looked up to me as a parent, who have looked up to me as that role model. And even if you went through my class this year and you don't think we have a connection, if you don't think you and I talked, or you don't think I'm going to remember who you are, know that you are wrong. I have a connection with every single one of you, even if you don't necessarily feel that the same way towards me. And if my role for you changes moving forward, I'm happy to do that. For some of you, tomorrow is the last day you're going to ever see me, because 8th grade, your classes won't be near mine, and you just will never come by my room. And then high school, our circles just won't overlap. And it's weird for me to think that for some of you, that's the last time that we see each other. But my role in your life ends when you want it to. I have kids that are graduating high school this year that are still on my reminds and still send me messages. I have kids that are in high school and college who still come by after school to talk to me and catch me up on life. If that's ever a thing you need from me, my door is always open, regardless if you're that kid that talked to me this year or if you and I never talked this year. I used to think I knew which kids in my classes needed this conversation. I used to think I could look at a kid and know what kind of home life they had and what kind of things were going on in their world, and I don't. I've learned that I'm an idiot in that area, and there are kids who put on masks and kids who hide who they truly are from others. And if that has been you this year and you have worn that mask and not let me or others see who you are, I am more than happy to listen. Sometimes it is nice to have an impartial person who is willing to listen and not judge. And I am going to offer that to you, that I will listen and not judge. Whether it's today, tomorrow, 8th grade, or whether you're like Clayton, my kid who I didn't see for 3 years until you walked back through my door to tell me you got arrested. I hope it's not because you got arrested. I hope it's for something much happier. But if that happens and you're in that moment and you don't know who to turn to, I'm absolutely happy to be that person that you can turn to. At camp, you've seen I have tattoos, but I have a tattoo on the back of my leg. That was the first one I got when I was 24, and it's faded out now, but it's a smiley face with a snake around it and a Latin phrase that says Ignis aurum probat, miseria forte viros. It's a Latin phrase that basically means what doesn't destroy us makes us stronger. And I got that when I was 24, when I came to the realization that my childhood that was rough and I thought was going to break me didn't. It actually made me a better person, that I would not be the teacher I am today if I had not gone through some of the hardships and heartache I went through as a kid that helped me connect to people. The reason I tell you about that is that it is a motto that I have embraced. The smiley face is my personality, and that snake that goes around it is evil. And the fact that I know evil is around me at all times, I know darkness is around me at all times, it is easy to give in to the hatred and the darkness and the evil. I choose to smile throughout all of that. So that's part of what I want to send to you guys now. Some of you guys have heartache, trauma, awful things in your lives right now that you have to deal with. And you can choose to smile through it, or you can choose to let it break you. I don't want it to break you. I want you to become stronger because of it. But if you ever need support, if you ever need someone to lean on, if you ever need somebody for guidance, I'm more than happy to do that for you. You simply have to reach out. My Remind is always open for those of you who use it. If you have a way of having Remind over the summer, I respond and check Reminds all summer. Next year, if you want to join my Remind, you're more than welcome to. And I will respond to every message I ever get. It might take me a few days because I have these things at my house called children, but I will absolutely respond and talk and give you whatever advice I can anytime you guys need it. Tomorrow, we're going to have a slightly happier story. Thank you guys today. Other than that, enjoy your Tuesday.